Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. We're here again. YouTube gave us a few minor difficulties as usual, but we're here. I'm Elizabeth Voss, Editor-in-Chief of Disobedient Media, and Suzie Dawson, of the leader of the Internet Party, is also here, ready to go and not sick. So we're excited to get into these documents and see what we find.
Yeah, I'm sure the NSA will be very pleased to know that the vomiting has subsided, and I am totally stoked to be here to do the stream with you guys.
Absolutely.
Cool, just checking. Oh, hi guys, people already talking in chat.
Oh, do we have a link? Here, I'm gonna look on Twitter to see what the link is because I'm totally lost with the YouTube link today.
Hold on 1 second, we'll be right back.
All right. Well, while Susie's gone, I'm just going to be slow for a second and sort out where this YouTube link is. Okay, thank you, Fly. All right, well, here we are. Glad to see everyone's here. And I think we were up to like, what was it, like 147? Is that right? Or did we go farther than that? Maybe like 148, something like that. I will start sharing screen momentarily.
Have you found it?
Oh. Yeah, the watch page, yeah.
Oh, cool, awesome.
And I'm gonna actually tweet that out right now.
Hi, Kathy. Hi, Red in Economics. I actually saw one of your streams earlier with a bunch of your friends. It was really cool. Yeah, Cockatoo's with us somewhere. What document number are we on?
I believe we finished up with 147. I think we're on to 148. That's what it looks like in my in what I had opened last. So I think we're on to the NSA received DCI denial deception awards.
Oh, okay. We've done a few about those awards before, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. We've done a number of them for sure.
Cool, 141. I have 141 as cover anonymity when mission requires NSA association to be hidden. We've done that, definitely.
Yeah, we done. I think we got after. I think we started on 140 last time, and I think we got up to 148-ish last stream.
Oh, David. Okay, I'm being told 144.
Okay. Yeah, I may have opened a few in advance, and then we may have quit at that point.
Oh, 144 is the 60-second survey. We definitely did that. So I'm going with 145, the customer scorecard.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Hey, Fly. Okay, here we go, sharing screen.
Awesome. And I've got if you guys see something in the corner, I have kind of a blanket with me because it is cold in Arkansas, like unusually cold, and the houses aren't built for Russian winters or anything, so it's been a bit crazy. But
oh goodness, it's really hot in here actually, even though
really?
It's cold outside. Yeah,
that's nuts.
Okay, the customer scorecard. One of the key initiatives for the Customer Relationships Directorate is to update and improve the customer support plans for each customer of the Signals Intelligence Directorate. The main element required is feedback from the customer. So that's why they've created this scorecard. They just want to measure customer satisfaction, find opportunities for improving their customer service. It's like all very, very corporate. Periodic assessments, ensure stronger customer relationships.
Yeah, this sounds like something you'd see it in an AT&T internal document or something.
Yeah, I love this. Demonstrate the importance of listening to the voice of the customer. Well, I assume they don't mean literally, which they would be able to do.
Definitely.
Capturing customer needs. Oh, I don't really see anything of interest there. So they're bending over backwards to make the customers happy. That's pretty standard.
Yeah, I don't see anything either.
And unfortunately, we don't have access to the results of the scorecards, which would be interesting. That would be very interesting to be able to see.
Definitely.
So we'll get rid of that one. Next, it takes only a little to do a lot. Interesting. The combined federal campaign coming from SID key worker for CFC.
Which
CFC being the combined federal campaign.
Exactly.
Were you ever in Scouts, had a loved one affected by disease, taken a walk in a park? I'm sure that all of us have been affected by the myriad organisations represented by CFC, the combined federal campaign. Oh, I remember seeing this when I skimmed through some of the docs, actually. So they make contributions to it. So I assume that all federal employees make contributions to this fund?
Maybe. I have no idea. But it sounds like, yeah.
It suggests that it's voluntary if it has only 18% participation. They're saying that this year they want 25% to participate.
Yeah.
This is its chance to lead the way to a brighter future. Choosing a charity and participating in the campaign suggests that you can elect where your contributions go to.
So is this showing that the NSA is in some way interfering with charity work or funding charity work? Is that, I mean, that...
I don't think they're interfering with it. I think that there's something called a combined federal campaign.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Where federal employees are asked to make contributions to one of a variety of charities. And I assume that one of those charities will be the Scouts.
Yeah, yeah, from the way it sounds, for sure. Well, I will
be right back. Can you grab that document? I think it's like 144.
Yeah. I'm gonna open that and share screen momentarily. Yeah, it only takes a little to do a lot. Got it. Okay, so yeah, I'm interested in this statement about the benefits of contributing to a charity, because the intermingling between these intelligence agencies and NGOs and charities is of particular interest to me. And I know that this is just talking about contributions, but I'm interested in how contributions are, like how it is that the NSA chooses charities to interact with versus other charities, and if there is anything else going on with that. That would be interesting to find out. And I've never heard of the combined federal campaign, so.
They're taking a walk in the park sounds like the Parks Commission or something.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that I would agree.
And had a loved one affected by disease. Is that like the CDC or something?
It may be some sort of hospital or the CDC. I would think that that's not a charity in the way that
this is all unclassified, so there's probably public data about it.
Yeah.
Is someone from chat able to just quickly look up the Combined Federal Campaign and find out who the partners are?
That would be awesome. And as they do that, I'm going to go to the next document, because other than that, I don't really see anything interesting here, unless you think so.
No, I don't think so. I think this is probably a fairly standard type of program.
Yeah, I would like to know more about how the charities are chosen, but other than that, I think it's pretty basic. So we were at It Only Takes a Little to Do a Lot. Now we're on to the China Forum, which sounds kind of interesting to me. We don't know who it's from, and it's, China Foreign Affairs. I know my colleague William is really, really interested in the developments between China and the US. So the Office of China and Korea cordially invites you and your colleagues to attend the NSA China Forum, 18 October from 1000 to 1200 at the RNE Symposium Center on the Fort Meade campus. It's the 15th installment of an ongoing series meant to inform the workforce about topics of interest regarding China and security challenges to East Asia in general. This month's NSA China Forum is entitled Chinese Oil Diplomacy and Its Impact on Geopolitics, and is classified top secret, et cetera, but includes Five Eyes. These speakers from the intelligence community will lead the classified discussion on this increasingly important issue. And they have a bunch of redactions in these next dot points. This is interesting. But it will be interesting if they told us what some of their geopolitical concerns are with China. But it then goes on to say, we have requested the speakers consider the following questions. 1, how has China's appetite for oil driven its foreign policy? 2, have China's efforts to reach out to developing regions like Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East to support its energy needs been successful? What are the implications for China's new efforts to strengthen its allies in these regions? 3, have China's approach to its relationships with the developed world powers changed in response to its desire for foreign oil? 4, how has China's appetite for energy resources influenced its role in multilateral organizations? And 5, what are the overall global implications from China's growing energy crisis?
Was this covered by Intercept? Because historically speaking, they usually cover anything that's about China.
I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a few days or maybe a week since we looked through the Intercept coverage of Batch 4. I think if somebody in chat actually could just cross-reference this and just look up China Intercept and then something from this this document.
Intercept, you can actually search on per release.
Yeah.
So if you look at the 4th document release and then type China, that would be awesome. But I'm pretty sure it has. But is there anything in here really that I don't think there's anything anyway, to be honest?
No, not really. I mean, I think that the questions are pretty logical and basic for the whole topic. Oh, it's not something that surprises me. Except actually the only thing that is interesting to me is the mention of China's growing energy crisis. So just because maybe I'm just out of the loop, but I hadn't particularly heard about that. I'm sure my friend William would probably know more about that. But anyway, so a couple of little things like that, but nothing particularly new or noteworthy, like the idea that it's China's reaching out to Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. I mean, I heard about that years ago. So, and then, actually, it's odd that we're looking at this document because William has written a number of articles I was looking through today that talk about China's interaction with the US and buying up things like Hollywood and media companies and that type of thing, and interacting politically with the US. So basically sort of economic imperialism as opposed to huge, military interactions with countries. But I don't think that this is overall that informative on that. So I'm going to move on to the Denial and Deception Awards. And we've seen this topic seems like a million times. And I've now reached another one of these ones that doesn't work. So I'm just going to skip to the next one. I know Susie's document will load those properly, so I'm skipping one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure that they're fixed in the copy that I have. Do you not have the updated copy?
Yeah, I think I'm using the old one. Did you?
I've actually still got it open. If you want to stop sharing, I can share.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Cool. Here we go.
Awesome. Yeah, because I'm betting that document would have been really interesting.
NSA has received DCI Denial and Deception Awards. DCI being Director of Central Intelligence.
Interesting.
So it's a CIA award that's being given to NSA staff members.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is definitely of note. They recognize those who demonstrate dedication and commitment to countering foreign denial and deception in U.S. research and development, counterintelligence and security, intelligence collection, analysis, and training. So again, I think we've looked at this before in other mentions of these types of awards. It's not engaging in the American version of denial and deception. It's countering foreign denial and deception. So that's not new, but it's just we're seeing it again. So the recipients are, for 2004, redacted, and the team leader names are, it looks like, mostly redacted. Interesting, though, that they have these different cells in different nations. And then it ends with, in honor of all the intelligence community award recipients, Mr. Larry Kinsvater, DDCI for community management, will preside over the award ceremony, blah, blah, blah. So really nothing there of interest, I don't think.
I think probably the most significant factor in that is one that we've covered before, and that's the fact that NSA analysts are receiving awards from the CIA.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely the most significant piece of information that coming from this particular file. And if I was including this in an article, I would use it for making the point again that the CIA and NSA obviously work together pretty closely to be giving awards to each other. So, and I'm disappointed at how many people, when I post when I posted the article about the NSA, and the days following that on Twitter, you still had people going, "Oh no, he's CIA," and all this stuff. So, you keep trying to counter that type of misinformation, but okay, so we've got the DA and the DIA collaboration on collection.
Being data acquisition.
Yeah.
I think do you want to do the reading? I think you're better at the reading than I am, and then I can just type in with my 2 cents of analysis.
Sure. Well, I don't think I'm better. I'm just filling in if there's any sort of interruption at all. So just keeping on type of thing. But so in mid-September, data acquisition hosted several visitors from the Defense Intelligence Agency's Directorate of MASINT and Technical Collection and Directorate of Human Intelligence for a collection enabling meeting. As the DIA visitors were briefed on activities, including the collection strategies and requirement center, link access, et cetera, many examples of the similar challenges both agencies experienced crystallized. So each is challenged by keeping up with technology, by developing ways to exploit new emerging forms of communications without losing sight of the more common technologies that are still used around the world, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we've had a million different documents show us that obviously the NSA and various agencies were interested in at this time in, quote, exploiting developing technologies to the greatest extent that they could. So that's not a huge surprise.
Yeah, I don't think there's that much there. You can go ahead and keep sharing the docs from your end, because I think we've got past the ones that were hiccups with.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grab the new file really quick before I share screen. 1 second. Here we go. Thank you, David, for sending that. I really appreciate it. It's going to take me like 30 seconds to open this. Oh no, here we are. Great. Okay. Sharing screen. Okay, here we are. So we are on to interlink then and now. It's great when we can just breeze through these pretty quickly. This is from customers, from Redacted, and it's relating to customer response. And it says, one of the lessons learned from the first Gulf War was that more needed to be done to promote cross-agency national tactical sharing of our intelligence. It sounds like it's, Transformation 2.0 again. In response, the Defense Department and the intelligence community jointly commissioned an architecture framework panel in late 1993 to find a solution. After studying the matter for about 4 months, the panel had written a lengthy document that enumerated many high-level requirements for improving connectivity. But rather than expecting people to read the document, the panel searched for ways to show senior DoD what was really needed. So World Wide Web technology was new and answered about 60% of the requirements. It was also free, a major selling point in the fiscal year. So 10 organizations agreed to host web servers on JWICS, the Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communications System, a top secret no phone network, and called the service Interlink. And so, yeah, Susie's had to explain to me about Interlink before, so this is obviously not the first time we've heard of this. And it looks like this document is giving kind of a history of the development of this issue. And Interlink hosted samples of multimedia reports, music, video footage, and text reports that would show the broad range of capability needed to address many of the problems exhibited during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. This is going all the way back to 1994 and talking about the development of Interlink. The NSA was one of the original agencies to participate in Interlink. And for me, like as somebody who doesn't know a lot about this history, this is useful not because it's new information, not because it's groundbreaking, but just as a history lesson and just as contextual learning, it's good for me to read this type of information. And so I would take note of this document for my own learning benefit, but it may not be, or to many other people. So anyway, at the time of the initial prototype, the NSA's sole contribution to Interlink was the SIGINT Digest, a predecessor to today's global SIGINT highlights, and which included maps, graphics, proved that anyone could indeed share multimedia-based reports and that customers could see them in all their intended glory. Then it says Interlink was declared operational on the 1st of December 1994. In January 1995, NSA began offering 45 days worth of openly shareable SIGINT product online searchable through serial, tagline, and keyword in title. That offering was enhanced through the addition of topics of high interest that allowed customers to click on a topic to see a list of SIGINT that responded to those topics.
Right, so this is incredibly significant because what this is telling us is that the NSA was operating a web portal in 1994.
Yeah, that's actually, that seems very early.
Not to mention a multimedia web portal.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, this is really
in 1994, nobody had a web portal. In 1994,
Exactly.
people were using, at best, IRC, like homepages on the web, news groups, and bulletin board services.
Yeah.
No one had a web portal.
So is this information about Interlink new to you, or is it not?
Interlink itself isn't, but this history of Interlink is new. So I did not know that they had it as early as 1994. That is incredibly significant.
Yeah, definitely.
1994 would probably predate all of the commercial websites on the internet.
Absolutely. So that would definitely be a point to
96. I mean, maybe I'm recalling this from personal memory, but I would think it would be 95 or 96 before there was commercial websites at all in the web space. My memory of it was that really, it was actually the cam girls was the beginning of the commercial web. Seriously, it was. It was like pornography actually pioneered like internet technology. Sadly but true. Sad but true. I'm trying to remember that. Was it Jenny Cam or something? It was like the first cam girl. And this sounds like I'm some kind of porn connoisseur. It actually couldn't be like further from the truth. But the entire world's like commercial internet started from cam girls earning money, broadcasting to the web. And that was when the first webcams were developed. And I'm pretty sure that wasn't until 96. Maybe.
That sounds about right.
I remember a friend of mine buying one of the first webcams, and it cost the best part of $1,000 to buy a webcam. You know what you can get now for $20 or $25 was like $1,000 back then. It was a big deal, and virtually no one had one at that point.
Well, I remember in 1998, 1999, people were still. I mean, like, the internet was mentioned, and like, for example, on some sort of TV show, they would start saying, you can go to our website, www.so-and-so. And like, me personally, I didn't even know at that stage. I was young and didn't know how to even work the internet at all. So yeah, to see them having this.
1999 was all the systems are going to fall over for Y2K, and it was this big like deal. And then the dot-com boom, which is like the big, bubble of these companies, these technology companies, these specifically web companies, is all post 2000. So for them to be operating a multimedia web portal in 1994 is pretty next level. It does put them 10 years ahead of the commercial internet.
Exactly. I think that's a really great number. I think that's a good estimate for sure, because I don't remember. Yeah, that would be about the time when I had a fully operating understanding of the internet and a computer that worked in that type of a level. So
now think about what 1994 was in war history. Because they're talking here about information to support war fighters, information on NSA. So in 1994, we were post-Gulf War. I want to say 1.0, though there's been many wars in the Gulf.
Yeah.
At least George H.W. Bush's Gulf War, right?
Yeah.
They're leading into the Balkans Wars.
Exactly. And Kosovo and all of that. Yeah.
Exactly. All of that would have followed this. So this means that this is the type of technology that they had available to them when they were fighting those wars.
Wow. That's another
reason that I would consider this to be significant.
Definitely. That context is really important for sure.
I'm just reading through the next paragraphs now.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling. Which paragraph are you on? I'll scroll to it.
Just in the second one. Soon after Interlink was declared operational, it became apparent that it didn't solve their issues because not enough people had top secret clearances, and it was a top secret service. So another version was created, like junior, or in software development we would say like a child version. This is the parent version. There's a child version. That was Interlink S.
Interesting.
Now, you know what, just the thought that struck me before, we think about like NSA systems being breached or being hacked or data being exfiltrated or leaked. Imagine the havoc that could be wreaked if someone could get inside these systems.
Exactly.
Like, holy crap, like it's like one thing for the OPM database that was like really serious breach, there's been other really serious breaches, but it's something as simple as like getting into Interlink and closed staging. We can see your Twitter, by the way. I'm not sure if you realize that.
Oh, sorry. I just was
just so you know, but imagine going just something as simple as like changing all their staging to closed on the customer requests, like order fulfilled, like
yeah, no, like the amount of control,
weeks or months worth of utter chaos from something so simple.
Definitely.
Not that I'm advocating for anybody to do that at all, but I'm just saying, like, in theory, if they have systems that they want to protect, you'd think that would be pretty high up the list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I mean, again, we even up until like this is going back to 1994, but obviously we haven't seen any interest in defense of their data at the moment. And I thought it was really interesting when I had a family member or when they reacted to the summary I did of the NSA findings. Well, they asked me the question. They were like, well, how is it that you're talking about them not having any sort of interest in data security? And they were really confused by the fact that reference to like Hewlett Packard, because they couldn't get their minds around the idea that the NSA would have outsourced that. Like, it's just so crazy that they were like, wait, is that like a mistake? Like, that can't be right. And so
it's not a mistake. It's standard operating procedure to outsource to, well, this is the thing, right? They're a corporate. Everything that we're seeing is that they operate, not just they are a corporate, but they operate like a corporate in all respects, in their language, in their hierarchies, in their systems, in their development practices. All of these development practices reflect standard software, development practices. Everything's revolving around the same life cycle that you see in the commercial space. So it actually, on one side, it's completely crazy, but on the other side, it's completely logical that they would do what every corporate does and outsource that stuff, outsource their, everything, hardware, networking, all of it can be outsourced potentially. And that's basically what they're doing with their Dell workstations and with their Oracle databases and with their Hewlett Packard. And like, this is what every corporate does. So they are they're literally just operating like another corporate.
Yeah, it's just really, I think for, me coming into this, but also people that don't have any idea about this concept that the NSA operates that way, it's just unbelievable. Like, it's really difficult for people to get their minds around that concept.
Remember what Snowden said. He said that he worked the Dell contract for the CIA.
Yeah.
So this isn't just the NSA that's outsourcing everything to the corporates. It's also the CIA. It's the agencies that have, the most at risk, the most top secret agencies are outsourcing to commercial suppliers. What's scary about it is I've been on the customer end of that relationship, and I know what it's like trying to get support from them. Yeah. I'm sure the CIA gets better support than like the commercial companies that I've worked for. Still, most of these companies' support channels are actually themselves outsourced. So you get into situations where you have a contract with Hewlett Packard, who has a contract with someone else, who has a contract with someone else, who has a contract with someone else. And next thing you know, you're like talking to a call center in Thailand who's telling you we'll get back to you in 36 hours, like, or worse. And, maybe Hewlett Packard has a dedicated team locally just for CIA, maybe that's not the case, but generally speaking in the industry, it's that when we talk about second, third, fourth line support, it's like how many steps away from the route you are. So it could literally, take you a week to get the most basic help with the most basic issue that you have.
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine them having to wait through like 3 different levels of support. It's just mind-boggling to think of an agency of an authoritative agency like that.
It also sheds some light on why they, if you remember back to the time of the leaks, they couldn't work out how Snowden had done it, and why they wouldn't be able to work out how. Because remember, they couldn't even work out how many documents he'd taken. Yeah. And the number that they ended up coming up with was like some astronomical over 1 million or something. But that was the entire pool of documents, that they're basing that on, not the ones that he actually took. So they couldn't ascertain, they couldn't nail down what it was that he'd actually taken or that he'd actually leaked. Yeah. And the reason for that would be because who are they going to have do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are they going to have do the work to ascertain how many he took? If they don't have their own specialized in-house networking staff, if they don't have their own systems defense team, what are they going to do? Are they going to call Hewlett Packard? Are they going to call Dell and say help?
Well, that's the thing.
How many documents have been taken?
Yeah, really. No, and it's like
the linguists are not going to be able to help them. They're 8,000 linguists.
Yeah,
and not gonna be able to tell them how many documents Snowden took.
Yeah, and so that's what's worrying about, seeing them having such a huge hand in interlink, and also having this developing these capabilities so early, is knowing how much their capabilities are out, or the security of these capabilities is outstripped by how fast they're developing them.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all about money. It's all about
very
money.
True.
Because what are we seeing in these? They've got entire documents. How better can we serve our customer? How better can we serve our customer? Let's bend over backwards to make our customer happier. Like that document we were just looking at a moment ago.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing.
Why is that? Why is the focus on making the customer happy?
Yeah, and I mean,
the customer is paying.
Yeah.
The customer is paying the NSA.
The thing is too that the fact that we just like looked at that document just now that was mentioning that, and we dismissed it because we've seen it so many times. Like we've seen it a million times before, so it wasn't, you know, at all newsworthy to us. And I think, you know, if you're, you know, when you're writing about these, like that document wasn't noteworthy, but it is noteworthy that we are seeing it so many times. So you can just literally write, like we saw the mention of customer relationships and the importance of customer relationships like 50, 100 times in these documents. Compared to other concerns that you would think.
And they're developing system after system after system
to
better process. Like we talked originally about the whole new customer relationship database that they had like put together. And then they have initiative after initiative, which is about how to better serve the customer. Yeah. We have not read a single document about custom built software to analyze the data integrity of the internal systems of the NSA or to protect their systems. There's not been a single one. Must be dozens of programs that we've analyzed so far. Not a single one of them was about defense. So Snowden was spot on. Exactly. He's been blowing the whistle about this aspect for years. He's been the one saying it's been all about attack and not about defense at all.
Yeah, for sure. And so what we found that is just in support and in corroboration of that, for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely. And the same thing, I mean, they have like their tailored access operations guys or whatever, and they're all about penetration of foreign targets. You know, even going to those guys and saying, hey, can you like come and find out how many docs Snowden has taken is like not going to work for them. And it just goes to show, like, can you imagine, like, who's sitting in, what's his face? General Hayden, who hates Snowden so much. Can you imagine sitting in his office when those leaks happened and knowing that you have to call someone? Who are you going to call? Like, it's all well and good to call the White House and tell them what happened, call the Congress. But who are you going to call to actually, I mean, you're going to call CrowdStrike, like not that was ever on the cards, but I mean, who are you seriously going to call to audit your systems if all of your system audits have been happening by third-party suppliers?
Yeah, really. And I mean, and how much of it would be actually trying to address issues versus just covering them up, you know? I mean, that's a speculative statement, but, you know, it seems like their priorities aren't what we would think they would be or hope they would be a lot of the time. So,
well, I think I'd definitely be learning the lesson from this. You'd hope so, at least. Yeah. And this is a lesson that I've got to say a lot of corporates have actually had to learn, is that...
Yeah, good point.
And the other thing too is that it's not cheap. Like outsourcing to the third-party corporates is not cheap. Like what people like Microsoft will charge you for these types of services is through the roof.
Yeah.
Like they could easily employ their own guys in NSA to do a better job and to know your own systems. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but to know your own systems.
Yeah, true.
Is so much more important than to have someone else, or you can know them better than to have someone else know them, especially someone else who's looking after a whole bunch of other people's systems as well and only giving a small slice of their time to yours.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great development principle is to do it in-house.
Yeah, for sure. I was just checking chat really fast.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I wanted to catch up with everyone.
And I am now going to go and tweet out the link again, which is what I was going to do earlier.
Yeah, sorry guys, yet again, I'm totally failing at actually tweeting. And thank you guys for putting up with me through this rocky last few weeks. I really appreciate it. I hate missing streams. Like, it really bugs me. So please understand that it's not something that I do lightly at all. But having said that, we're all also okay now. So hopefully we'll be okay.
And the holidays are a rough time for everyone, you know, trying to work and then trying to get around, you know, stuff being closed. I mean, it's just a mess. Those couple of weeks are not a lot gets done for a lot of people, I think.
Awesome. Someone's dropped us the link on the combined federal campaign.
Oh, fantastic.
Can we get that into our pirate pad? Is our pirate pad still up? That would be so great.
Yeah, I believe Fly linked it earlier, and I think it's also in the chat as well. I can send the link to you in chat that I have. Oh, well, it's telling me it's disconnected now, but
I'll just backtrack through some of these questions because there's some stuff in chat for us. And there's the link to the pirate pad. Fly shared it. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that. Any links that you guys contribute in answer to any of the questions that we ask you, please, can you just deposit it into the pirate pad? That would be really, really helpful.
Definitely hugely helpful. Like, yeah, when we're trying to come back and Susie's writing her Decipher you sum up, or if I'm writing about this and trying to analyze it, the links that you guys provide are hugely important. And the example of that last time was somebody had given us that WikiLeaks document that we, you know, defined special source operations with. So that was definitely helpful.
I love WikiLeaks contributions. It's really cool.
Definitely. I love cross-referencing.
Marina's a long-time follower. Hi. Really cool to see you in here. Okay, Pratik Was True asks, what gets redacted was carefully decided by Glenn Greenwald, correct? To be fair, I'm pretty sure that it was not just decided by Glenn Greenwald. It was actually, they've actually published the rules before. They've openly stated what they redact and why they redact, but it's generally that they will redact the name of a person who is not a public figure. So an NSA employee whose name is, if they search it on the internet, they can't find it anywhere else. But if that person is already publicly identified as being an NSA or CIA or whatever employee, then they'll publish it. Otherwise, they'll protect the identity. They give the government the opportunity to highlight whether something is justifiably a threat to life or limb prior to publishing. And that was one of Snowden's conditions, is that he wanted the government to have a chance to make a case that it actually might cause bodily harm. There's arguments on both sides of that. I actually kind of feel like that argument is screwed one way or the other way, because on
like
one side you get called reckless and endangering people, and on the other side you get told that you are assisting the government, or that, you know, information should be free, etc., etc., etc.
So you're covering for them.
I really feel like no matter which way they'd gone, someone was going to want to kick the shit out of them for the decision.
Definitely, absolutely.
I'm pretty sympathetic, and you know, that's not an easy call to be making either.
Definitely.
And obviously it was really important to them to do this, not just do this right, but also not have this turn into some clusterfuck that the government could bludgeon all future leaks with, or, you know, of this magnitude. So I understand that. And then I think there's some other stuff. You'd probably have to go back and read through the original Intercept reporting, but they have several times explained exactly what they're redacting and why, though I think I've covered the major points. I'm pretty sure any ongoing operations or any people who are currently presently on the ground at risk in operations, that is redacted.
Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, I have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. It's not something that we need to know to discuss the content of these documents.
There isn't a large number of redactions in the documents that we've studied so far either. We've only come across like a couple of them where we've actually wondered what's behind it.
Yeah, like within the document itself, and not just names or, you know, a website or a phone number or something. That one sentence in that document in Australia still bugs me.
There's one document that was an unclassified paragraph that had an entire sentence blacked out, and I'm dying to know
was very
what was
odd.
under there. I'd love to know that.
Yeah, it had to be something damning, because I mean, the only other time I've heard of them redacting unclassified paragraphs was in the documentary about Bill Binney and the whole thing with that. When they got the documents back, they were redacted in unclassified paragraphs. So.
Cockatoo showing off his age, talking about having learned Pascal. Protect what's true. If you're into grabbing and profiting, the integrity of your service gets sloppy. Well, that's just pretty spot on right there. That's exactly what we're saying, is that they are customer focused because they're money focused. And subsequently, as you say, the integrity of the service gets sloppy because they're not concerned by data integrity or by the integrity of their systems as much as they are by serving up their customers endlessly whatever their customers want.
Yeah, with the least cost possible. Very much the corporate mindset, as opposed to what you might think a government agency would be thinking about priority wise. Yeah, the concept of their priorities being ordered in that way is really foreign to my mind for a government agency, but that's just how it is in these documents. So
Roseanne says, very informative. Thank you very much. We try. Wow, there's like quite a few new people here tonight. Cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think keeping tweeting out the link repeatedly, I think it does, or like retweeting the link once you've already sent it out, like just recycling the tweet, I think helps people find the link and whatever.
Oh.
And thank you everybody else who retweets and post the link, and it's just really, really helpful, and we appreciate it a lot. So
let's see, I'll find the watch page and then I'll send a little one myself.
Yeah, it took me a minute to do that. But
did you know that the NSA had a multimedia web portal in 1994?
Yeah, really, that is amazing. And overall, as well as how early it was, just the detail that document gave on the development of Interlink and NSA's role in it, that's really helpful for me. And if it's helpful for me, it's going to be helpful for other people too, that might read articles or watch our little clips or anything like that. So
cool. Okay, if you guys want to go retweet my tweet, I just sent one.
Awesome.
I just said, did you know that NSA had a functioning interagency multimedia web portal in 1994? We do, because we just read about it in the Snowden documents live at Decipher You right now.
I will jump out of my Twitter and I will go and post it on another platform.
You guys are so cool raising awareness for us. Thank you, because I totally fail at tweeting during stream. Okay.
Awesome.
Back to documents. I'll go ahead and share screen.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Oh, cool. The Pirate Pad link. Good one.
Yeah, I'm just throwing the watch link on a new page here.
So we're done with that. And that is a really great one. Have we made a note of that?
I don't know that we have in the Pirate Pad
yet. It's all right. I'll just hang on one sec. I'll just pull out my notes. I definitely want to add that to the list to write about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the most interesting thing that I've seen today.
Mind you, we've really only just gotten started, haven't we? Okay, cool. Back from Baghdad. So previously we've read about how dangerous Baghdad is, and we've read about how safe Baghdad is, depending on whether the document is aiming to recruit people to send there, in which case it's safe, or is about giving people awards for how dangerous it is. And here we go. This looks like it's another promotional one about how great it is to be in Baghdad. How was this person's tour? It was a great experience. The best tour he's ever had in 28 years.
Of course it was.
His primary concern was the health and safety of people under his supervision. Health and safety makes it sound like, you know, they're going to trip over something on the ground. Don't walk under a ladder. Okay. Fortunately, no one was injured in 101 days on the site. No one in 101 days. 3.5 months in Baghdad and no one was injured. I'm struggling to believe this. However, the long periods of quiet were punctuated by moments of sheer terror.
Of course.
Sheer terror. From quiet to sheer terror. A trying point in his tour occurred when the site experienced mortar attacks for 5 consecutive nights, but had no injuries. Their workplaces were hit twice, once by a mortar and once by a rocket. Although one of the attacks caused amazing damage, both of the State Department personnel near the blast survived, with one being sent back to the States for medical treatment. That sounds suspiciously like an injury.
Yeah. So what's the date on this document again?
It's got to be 2004. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
20th of October 2004. He was there for 101 days. It was 3.5 months. Now, in 2004, it would have been relatively quiet, relatively by comparison to like 2007, by which point everything was going to hell in a big way.
Yeah.
And it looks like they originally had the photos of the damaged work areas. Okay, so this is during Paul Bremer's transition to the new Iraqi government. And there's John Negroponte again.
Nice.
The US ambassador to the new government. So he was previously, John Negroponte was previously the US ambassador to the UN. And so in the documents that we studied, if you guys have not been with us before, I strongly suggest that you go back and watch the episodes where we are studying the documents about the United States mission to the United Nations. What we learned, amongst many things, is that NSA has staff that are permanently stationed to do nothing other than spy on the UN members.
And interface with the UN, yeah.
The US. And that the US mission, they call it the US mission to the UN, meaning the diplomats that go to supposedly do diplomacy at the UN.
Exactly.
And order up 24/7 SIG-int out of the NSA on all of the other countries and the deals and who's going to vote which way and who thinks what and does what and said what and where they went and who they know and everything else before they roll up into the UN floor. So when they're going in to table these resolutions, they already know who's going to vote for them and who's not going to vote for them. They already know which provisions people are going to support or veto. They already have all this information at their fingertips. So what they're doing on the UN floor is actually like this kind of pantomime. They're just going and acting out what they already know is going to happen in advance. Exactly. It's a very strange thing. It's very, very strange to me. It's also it also is really counter to this whole idea of like what diplomacy is supposed to be. Like diplomacy is supposed to be negotiation, but how can you negotiate effectively if somebody already knows everything about you, what you're up to, what your bottom lines are, it's like the whole thing is just weighted against the success of any other country except for the US, funnily enough.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that, so this is not just the state, like the United States interfacing at the UN and playing power moves. This is our intelligence agency directly interfacing with the UN, like you said. And that goes beyond even back channel diplomacy, where you might somehow in a secret room have a secret telephone that calls a different intelligence agency, you know, or whatever. This is direct, sort of out in the open interference with politics in a direct way. It's like their own little nation. And it's interesting as it brings up the question for me about whether other countries' intelligence agencies are potentially also interfacing with the UN. Because if the NSA is doing it, I don't think that bars anybody else's agency from.
They must be doing it. It must be standard practice. And it reminds me of something else that Snowden said this year about the whole Russiagate thing. He said, of course, an intelligence agency is meddling in an election. That's what they do. That's like one of their purposes. It's like standard practice, par for the course. Of course, they will try to influence the outcome of democratic elections. And then WikiLeaks had dropped the documents back in, was it February? Or I think it was February. It
was early.
WikiLeaks dropped documents which were actual dispatch orders from the CIA, dispatching spies from all Five Eyes nations to France to spy on the French presidential elections in 2012. Not just spy.
Yeah, that was important. That was really important.
To infiltrate with human intelligence, sending teams of spies from each of these countries to infiltrate the political parties present in the French election. So France is supposed to be an ally. And so the CIA is infiltrating and having other countries infiltrate the political parties in a democratic election of an ally. So imagine what they're doing to like Russia's elections, or, you know, someone who's not an ally.
Yeah, and even though it's been a few months since that happened, somebody needs to write a full article on that specific instance, because that was really important.
Absolutely, and that was why I used my big mainstream media interview in New Zealand this year to bring that exact point home.
Awesome.
Because how can we sit around going, oh, Russia meddled in the elections like it's like some scandalous thing, whether they did or not? I mean, there's ample evidence that they didn't meddle in the way that they've been accused of meddling.
Exactly.
They've been accused of meddling. Like for the whole CrowdStrike DNC stuff, there's obviously a lot more going on than just Russia meddling in the elections. But even if Russia had meddled in the elections, it would be par for the course, not only for Russia, but for every intelligence agency in the world. So I think you are probably spot on when you say that these other countries clearly would also be using their intelligence agencies. But then the question would be, what other country in the world has the kind of reach of, other than perhaps Israel, has the kind of intelligence reach that the United States does? Because what we see with their 45 eyes of their NATO and partner countries in Afghanistan and whatnot, they are siphoning up all of the data of these so-called partner nations, as well as the data of every other country on Earth. And simply, who else can compete with that?
Exactly.
Not a level playing field.
Exactly.
And the UN is supposed to be a level playing field.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not. At least it's definitely not something where I think people would expect to go in and just see intelligence agencies out in the open interacting. I think people do assume that it's, you know, on the level of states coming in and having their voices heard. So I think that specific aspect of that is probably new and important for people to understand. But
right, so that was the first factor that was new. But then the second factor was that the NSA was in one of the documents, and this is yet another reason I say you should go back and watch the earlier episodes of Decipher if you haven't. The other major aspect was that the NSA was taking credit for the content of the speeches of the President of the United States.
Yeah, that was huge.
Which was at that time George W. Bush. and Colin Powell,
Yeah.
so the Secretary of State and the President of the United States, of their speeches where they were exhorting all of the countries of the world to join them in their totally illegal invasions of Iraq.
And it was failed intelligence, and even Colin Powell, even Colin Powell said that was a failed.
The weapons of mass destruction, the 45 minutes to launch a weapon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The NSA is directly bragging in their documents that they were behind that had contributed that to the mission. So that's the second element. So the first element is that they're providing this live SIGINT to 24/7 to the US UN mission, but they also have been responsible for faulty intelligence, which has caused the death literally of millions of people.
Definitely.
So when you combine those two elements, you begin to see how dangerous it is. Then the other thing is that when we went back and actually studied those speeches, we went and re-watched the speeches for which the NSA claimed responsibility for the intelligence. And we understood that those speeches were directly used not just as a pretext for war, but they were also used as a pretext by which to get the UN involved post-invasion to take over responsibility for the cleanup of the war. And that was when we began to understand that even where the UN does not endorse the invasion, the UN is inevitably engaged in the follow-up, in the cleanup. So the US managed to convince the UN, hey, you guys need to take responsibility for securing this country, you need to get all of your NGOs in here, all of your big UN, programs, development programs, and whatever else need to come and have a presence here. And what the upshot of that is the UN spending billions of dollars of international money on cleaning up after a unilateral US invasion.
Absolutely.
And in that way, the UN is used to almost retrospectively whitewash it. Because if the UN is engaged at that level, then it tacitly exonerates the US. Even though we know that they never should have gone in and that they broke international laws to do it, the fact that they're then able to convince the UN to come on board and clean up their mess is significant. And,
absolutely.
And that yet again, that came back to NSA. NSA was again bragging about having supplied the information for the speech which Colin Powell made to engage the UN and get them on board post-invasion.
Yeah.
So it's extremely significant. And John Negroponte was that, which is how we've even got onto this little rant. John Negroponte was that US to UN ambassador.
Yeah.
He left there and was sent to, now hang on a second, did he go from Iraq to, no, he must have gone from there to Iraq because he's now in Iraq and this is in chronological order. Right, yeah, he was sent to Iraq. Now, the next thing that's significant about Negroponte is that he is a massive war criminal. And he was up in all of that Latin American death squads and everything else. Like he had like decades of experience and it was after he got involved in Iraq that the Shiite death squads and all of that stuff showed up. And that's why 2006, 2007, Iraq completely destabilized and became even 100,000 times worse than it was during the invasion. And it was people like him, their arrival in Iraq, which heralded that really, really dark time that came to follow.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I had a friend that was involved in that time, just served a tour, and they talked about some of that a little bit, like the horrible stuff like that was happening. So definitely a bad time. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just having a little look in chat. Yeah, protect what's true says, aside from the danger, just the idea that we're being forced to pay so much for such egregious corruption NSA designated to spy and interface with the UN is in itself sickening.
Definitely. Very.
Yeah, for me, having read this and having learned this stuff, I can just never look at those UN live feeds the same again.
Yeah, never.
Like those speeches that the leaders are getting up and giving, the NSA has already read them before they're given. Like it just makes the whole thing so inauthentic, you know?
Definitely.
It's staged. It's like it's truly staged international diplomacy. Hey, Jenny Lynn. Okay, let's go back into that document and see what else Negroponte got up to. On more than one occasion, Ambassador Bremer made a major policy decision based on SIGINT information alone. Now, that should be really concerning because Ambassador Bremer was notoriously useless, worse than useless. Okay, we're about to have another rant now. Here's my next rant. If you have read Bush's Wars, or if you've read, and I'm talking about Woodward books here, okay? Woodward is friendly to US presidents. That's why he gets access to them. If you've read his books, you'll know that Ambassador Bremer was responsible for stupid decisions, like firing the entire Iraqi military, like post-invasion, and therefore leaving like some massive percentage of the country with no income and a whole bunch of weapons in their house.
Yeah.
That was Ambassador Bremer. So that was a major policy decision. So the NSA is basically saying, oh, you were behind that as well.
Yeah, and so that's even though that's not directly shelling the infrastructure of a country, that's destabilizing and destroying the infrastructure with a simple bureaucratic type of decision. So that's awful.
It was creating the conditions for massive unrest.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. So they're not just responsible for the speeches that led to the war, they're now responsible for the terrible policy decisions during it.
Yeah. Absolutely bad. So yeah, in the next when you do your Decipher, you sum up when I write about this, that's definitely going to need.
This is definitely going to have to go in there.
That they're taking responsibility for that horrible decision.
We don't know that it's that decision specifically, but I don't actually remember any of the major policy decisions of Ambassador Bremer being good. He was pretty much across the board denounced as being terrible in basically everything that he did. He was the one who set up shop in Saddam's palaces, remember?
Yeah.
He had his office in one of the palaces, and
the list goes on.
Okay, so his tour also coincided with NSA deployments of people to assist with military division level personnel. They expected the effort to be a success.
And was a good idea. Of course, of course, the feedback was positive. Anyway.
Customers told Mr. Cronin and the NSA director, keep doing what you're doing. Having gotten them into a war based on lies and having made major policy fuck-ups, keep doing what you're doing. Policymakers want to hear more than SIGINT from the NSA. They appreciate analyst comments and considered SIGINT assessment reports to be pure gold. Customers went out of their way to ask for more. One-stop shopping.
So would that
IMT? That sounds like a portal. What is this?
Would that mean that the NSA was sort of stepping on the CIA's toes as far as analysis and participating in analysis?
No, it's the issue management team. Stepping on their toes in what way?
Well, just in kind of, performing analysis in a way that was more the CIA's forte, maybe?
No, because the CIA is all about the human intelligence analysis.
True.
So that would be more like, XYZ Iraqi informant on the ground says.
Yeah.
It's different killerfish.
Yeah, but whereas this is more just interpreting the data that they're getting and whatnot. He did have some limited opportunities to mix with the Iraqis, as in a marketplace. His impression was that they were happy, but resented the US occupation of their country.
Now, that wasn't what they were telling you on the news in 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, they were just showing the pictures of Iraqis pulling down the statue of Saddam over and over again. He's now headed off to Thailand to begin language training prior to his assignment as NCR Thailand in the summer of 2005. Yeah, the rest of that I don't find as interesting, but the prior parts of this document definitely.
That sounds very much like he's been rewarded with a cushy next post, doesn't it?
Exactly, like a holiday.
Like, he goes to Iraq for 101 days, comes back, tells everyone it was the best tour of his entire life, and then goes to the beach in Thailand for the next 2 years.
Yeah, that's exactly what that sounds like.
Okay. Yep, we're definitely making note of that one.
Yeah, definitely. And any document that inspires a rant, we note.
It's a really good way to put it. That's a really, really good way to put it.
And while you do that, I will retweet your tweet and mine.
And find that sentence where they take responsibility for, well, they take credit, but they're also taking responsibility for. On more than one occasion, Ambassador Bremer made a major policy decision based on SIGINT information alone.
Interesting.
Look, that should be enough to defund the entire NSA right there.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a screenshot of that.
And while you're doing that, I do want to just say, because I was just on Disobedient Media's Twitter and I just remembered this, but I just want to say, like, interrupting side note, that everybody's thoughts need to be with Robert Parry at this time because he's had a stroke and has lost his vision. And so, if there's any way you can support him, just reaching out to social media, whatever, it's just not good. He's a great journalist. So.
Yeah, it's really horrible what's happened.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the people that I look to as a role model in this type of independent journalistic endeavor.
Wow. Okay. where somewhere I have that screenshot of them taking credit for the Bush and Colin Powell stuff. Where?
Yeah, I don't know about a screenshot that you had, but if you want a quick link to all of that, it was in there. I think there should be links in my article to that, because that was a really hugely
that would be really great, because I'd like to stick both screenshots in.
Yeah, I don't know if I had screenshots. I know that I had links to that, to the document. I always made sure to do that. So I will bounce over to that article right now and grab the link for you. Yeah, and by the way, that article almost side note about that is that was only a small portion of batch 4 that covered. That was barely anything. So, you know, there's a whole lot more to go through. And as Suzie said a few times before, the more that we get through historically with the NSA and these documents, the more interesting and the more content there's going to be in every single stream and batch and everything. Okay, so I have the link to the NSA document that takes credit for that. I'll send it to you and you can screenshot whatever was useful. And I'll throw it into YouTube chat for the hell of it. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is a very important tweet to send. Very important tweet. I'll just show you guys what I'm doing here. So this is the tweet that I'm about to send. So far in #Decipher You, we've learned from the Snowden files that NSA took credit for 1, Bush's Iraq war speech, 2, Colin Powell's Iraq war speech, 3, Ambassador Bremer's major policy decisions.
That's incredible to sum it up that way.
If that isn't a good enough case to defund the NSA, I don't know what is.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely
Glenn. Glenn's a wonderful person. There are some people who I think we're being, when I say adversarial, I'm not even meaning to troll when I say adversarial in terms of the Intercept. They think we're being adversarial to the Intercept. I just make 2 points. One is I fucking love Glenn Greenwald. Anyone who knows me knows I love you, Glenn. He knows I love him too. 2 is that when the Intercept first started batch releasing these files, Glenn specifically put the call out. And full disclosure, I had the conversation with him too at the time that this needed to happen. He put the call out to journalists to specifically stated, please find what we have missed. Please go through these documents. So what we're doing here is fully faithful to that call.
Absolutely.
Is that link up somewhere? Awesome, got it. All right, now where is the line about the speeches?
Suzie, did you send that tweet?
It's so dry in here. It's like really, I'm supposed to think I'm supposed to like boil water in a pot or something to.
Yeah. Did you end up sending that tweet? The one about the.
I was just waiting for the screenshot that I've just taken right now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Give me 1 second and it will be in. Sorry, I'm a bit slow.
Not a problem. No, I just going to retweet it. Not a problem at all.
Okay, I just tag in a few. Oh, won't let me tag in anyone. Why? Silly thing. Okay, tweeted.
Awesome.
If that isn't worth 10,000 retweets, I don't know what is, because honest to God, that's freaking appalling.
No, it really is.
That is truly appalling.
No, a whole article could be written on that tweet, the content of that tweet alone.
You guys are fast. Cockatoo and Elizabeth have caught it already. Yeah, the tweet's up. I'll pin it to my timeline, pin to my profile page. Incredible.
Definitely. And in the same way that you just, you were mentioning just now that looking through these files is helping what Glenn Greenwald intended to start out and begin doing, or what he wanted people to do with these documents once they were published. I mean, it's the same thing as if you went and did the same thing with WikiLeaks, you'd be helping them too. You'd be helping highlight what they've done and their efforts and the importance of the documents that they have and that they've published. You know, and I think I said this in a different stream, but Assange said, you know, he's always surprised by the connections and the finds that people make, because obviously WikiLeaks can't go through all the documents and find all the important connections themselves when they have millions of records that they've already published. So, you know, this type of thing is in no way like against these publishers. It's in support of independent journalism and also what they've done. And it highlights the importance of what they've done. It doesn't go against it. So.
I'm putting in a minor correction because I added an S and I didn't mean to. Correction, a major policy decision. Bremer in brackets would love to know what it was. Have read all of Woodward's books on the Iraq War.
Yeah.
And even he, a total presidential sycophant, was damning on Bremer's policy decisions. Okay, cool. Accuracy is important.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I hate it when I discover a mistake, and it happens once or twice, you know, and you just admit you made a mistake, correct it, and move on. But
cool. Okay. I'm just going to catch up with chat because I can see chat's moving so fast I can barely even keep up with it now.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now. That's why I'm grinning. It's definitely not about the NSA's role in Iraq and the Iraq War.
Redneck, who is Graham? People keep talking about Graham, but I've actually got I have no idea who you guys are talking about there.
Yeah, I don't see a Graham in chat at the moment.
Oh, that's so cool. Someone's like, do you guys follow God and the Bear? She has 13,000 followers and just sent the link out. Wow, very cool. Thank you, God and the Bear. Yeah, someone else has just said search.wikileaks.org/ and query code for John Negroponte. John Negroponte is a living demon. Well, that's my interpretation. 1,119 results for John Negroponte on WikiLeaks. And the idea that a living demon has 24/7 access to, you know, the NSA like that is, I guess it goes hand in hand, really. I'm sorry to hear that independent outsiders' strokes are horrible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Eric says it's going to get pretty cold here in Florida tomorrow. I can't even imagine it being cold in Florida. I've been to Florida and it definitely was not cold.
Actually, no, it is. I know I have a friend in Louisiana, and it's their pipes are freezing. Like it's actually a huge cold snap that goes all the way into the south, and they're having a lot of issues with homeless people in the cold. It's really bad because the infrastructure isn't here to have like warming centers and all the things that you need in that situation. So
It seems like the US just gets it from one extreme to the other. Like, one minute
yeah,
it's like the fires in California, and then the next minute cold in Florida. Like,
yeah. Literally, it's just, I mean, I'm serious. Like it has gotten here, it's been like 12 degrees and it doesn't usually get that cold. And so it's more of an issue in an area that doesn't usually see those temperatures because the houses, like my house isn't built for it. And so we're just like cuddling with warm
yeah,
tea. But if
I
you're in
saw
Russia, then then the
in New
houses,
Orleans were saying the same thing. She's like, we
yeah,
don't have insulation in our houses and we're freezing. Like,
exactly.
she said that she had put eggs out on the counter and they froze. In
Exactly.
New
That's
Orleans, in Louisiana.
exactly. That's exact. And so for that level of cold to be that far south is absolutely insane. But then the
Cacti,
next winter, it's like summer all winter. So
Cacti Juice is saying, good stuff, Suzie. That Colin Powell one is making me mad. Cacti Juice, if you go back and find that episode, the UN, I'm not sure, like at a guess, I'd say it's like episode 12 or 13.
yeah,
Actually, Fly would be the person to tell you because there's probably clips of it. There's probably
yeah,
clips of it. But I was spewing. I was spewing when I found, I mean, not literally spewing like I was this week, but actually like morally spewing, because this is like, that was the greatest fraud that's been committed in our generation.
yeah,
Was Colin Powell's speech and Bush's speech that literally led the planet into an illegal war that killed millions of people. And the best thing I've seen in recent times was one of the Bitcoin millionaires, whose name escapes me, but I tweeted about it. He was actually in tears talking about the devastation that was wreaked on Iraq and the 500,000 kids starved by the sanctions even before the US lied the UN into war. And it was a great thing for me to see someone, a man especially, actually literally crying tears because he understood the real impact on real people. We hear these numbers all the time, millions of people died. We don't think about how devastating it is for one person. Cockatoo's telling me it was Roger Ver. Yeah, you're correct, Roger Ver, Ver. You think about how much it hurts when one person dies. Imagine living in a community where and this was exactly what happened to them. Every family lost someone.
yeah,
Every family. Russians know what that's like. When they march here on Victory Day for World War II, the reason they still remember Victory Day, the reason it's the biggest holiday of the year, is because every person in Russia lost a family member.
yeah,
Some of them have 2, 3, or 4 photos on the same placard of family members, but everybody lost someone. That level of devastation to a society it's been 80 years and 70 years, and that's how much of an effect it's had on Russia.
yeah,
In Iraq, they will remember this in 100 years' time. They'll remember the millions that have been killed in the last 15 years. That's how big of an atrocity it is. And those guys are still walking around, not only walking around, they're writing books, giving speeches, doing CNN appearances, and having Democrats stand up and say, well, actually, they're not so bad after all,
Yeah, no, we like George W. Bush because he obeyed our neocon interests. So,
But when you realize that all of that, it goes back to the NSA's doorstep.
yeah,
That's why, like, the last few episodes, I've started to go like, holy crap, this is about way more than just our privacy. And I'm honestly not trying to belittle our privacy because I was prepared to give my life for our privacy. I thought privacy was a big enough issue to give my life for. I really believed that it was a big enough issue to give my life for. But when we start to understand that these are the guys that are responsible for these things, we've been blaming the politicians for it. We've been blaming the guys who get up and give the speeches, and sure, they're culpable too. But I feel like we're finally unmasking who was really responsible for it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the figureheads.
Yeah. Very true. I don't know about you, but I want to get through a few more documents.
Me
in the
too.
next
I'm just
little bit.
trying to catch up with the chat and I'm still
Yeah.
miles behind. I think what would be really helpful, guys, since we're building quite an impressive little community here, is maybe in future streams, if we need a Blake person. So like what Blake would do for internet party streams is he would, or not just Blake, but actually our guys across the different platforms, our people on Facebook would make like a text document and put all the questions in it.
Okay.
Yeah, our people on YouTube would put the questions in it as well. And then they would just copy paste us in the list of questions and then we could answer them one by one. And that's a lot more helpful because it's probably not interesting viewing for me to be sitting here. Crocodile, if you haven't already, stick that link into... I think this time probably sucks for him. Jenny's asking, where's Blake been?
Yeah, that makes sense.
He still loves us, but I think this time is not good for New Zealanders.
It would be really early in the morning, right? It would be like...
It's early afternoon for them, but it's midweek. So they'll all be at school or at work or something. I think that Blake is freaking awesome, redneck. I love him to pieces. I think our Friday being their Saturday is a much better chance of him being around, but this Tuesday, Wednesday thing is not so good.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the docs because we're going to wrap this up in about 30 minutes. Sorry for the rants, but I think like it's worth it in the case of Negroponte and this other stuff.
Definitely.
And how's our tweet going? The other thing I've discovered is I'm kind of being a little bit scared to share this fact in case it gets stopped, but I've noticed that if you retweet your stuff that's shadow banned, it seems to pick it up, but when you tweet it out, it won't. I'm not sure why that is.
Wait, what?
I've noticed, like, if I send a tweet, like 2 people will see it and retweet it. And I retweet the tweet, like 20 people will instantly see it and retweet it, and then it will spiral on from there. So it's actually worth it to just retweet your stuff.
Yeah, to like recycle the tweets. Yeah, it's easier. It's quicker too than having to type out multiple as well.
Okay, back to documents. Where are we at? New staff supports network attack.
Interesting.
I know you'd think that would be like supporting incoming network attack, but I'm sure we're going to find us the other way. This summer, the Secretary of Defense approved a proposal by the Commander of US Strategic Command to delegate authority for a significant part of the command's new Information Operations Center mission to the Director of NSA, who assumes another hat as part of his US Stratcom chain of command. As a result of this decision, blah, 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 General Hayden
here we go again.
now serves as the US Strategic Command's Deputy Commander for Network Attack Planning and Integration. So, sure enough,
that guy.
CNA, Computer Network Attack, and CNE, Computer Network Exploitation. Operations to disrupt, deny, degrade, or destroy. Right, so CNE is harvesting, and that's what Snowden was involved in. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze.
Sneezing is the worst. I hate it.
Okay, so a really astute observer will remember that Snowden said that he did CNE for the FBI. So FBI targets, maybe some pennies are dropping. CNE FBI targets needed CNE performed on them, and Snowden was one of the, I'm sure, countless people who was doing CNE for FBI. So they would come in and actually compromise the routers, compromise the devices, the target devices.
Interesting.
Target networks. Right, and then gather the data from target or foreign automated information systems or networks for intelligence purposes. So, I mean, that could be targeting the ISP as well. It doesn't even mean target router or target network or target device. It could potentially be a higher level than that. And CNA is where they're actually meddling with it. Disrupting, denying, degrading, or destroying. So when they're actually up to no good inside the system, whereas CNE is passive. The passive exfiltration of the data.
Interesting.
And how did he come to be part of a warfighting command? Because there was a modification of the unified command plan.
Psychological operations, military deception,
now we're talking. Electronic warfare. Holy shit. This led to a change in the unified command plan, assigning responsibility for the full information operations mission. IO. Information's operations mission, including computer network attack and defense, psychological operations, military deception, electronic warfare, which to this day they won't admit exists.
Yeah, of course not.
Let alone the fact that they are engaged in it, and operations security to US Stratcom. Okay, well.
So would that mean that then, I mean, an obvious finding from this particular document would be the proof that electronic warfare is engaged in by the US and these agencies?
Well, that's a different topic in and of itself. I wouldn't say that necessarily this is the proof that it exists, because there's already been pieces of legislation that reference it that have been in circulation for some time, where you can actually see that it's been approved, like, for engagement by the Congress. On the other side of it, I found that WikiLeaks, the document in WikiLeaks where the defense contractors have actually listed the hardware manufacturers of electronic weapons, and there's a whole list of all of the world's police agencies, security agencies that have purchased those weapons, and the dates of the rollout to the various departments all around the world, and the fact that they had already been tested and cleared for release.
Absolutely ridiculous.
What's ridiculous is that I still, even after having found that, get called a conspiracy theorist. It's like, I don't think you can be called a conspiracy theorist at the point at which there's a list of who manufactures it, a list of who purchased it, and all the details about them having been tested and operational. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a freaking invoice.
When you have evidence like that, there's no, if you just cite the evidence and say, here's what it shows, there's no, you can't be disproven that way unless there's countering evidence. That's, it's an obvious ploy to discredit.
Right. It's like the Snowden's in it for the CIA, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. It fits under the psychological operations tag in that list. But
yes, you're absolutely right. And probably straight off Hayden's desk as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, now that we think about it, Hayden was also CIA director, wasn't he? Didn't he go from CIA to NSA?
Let me check how that went again. I'm going to Google it because, one
of them was both CIA and NSA directors, and I thought it was him.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep having to try to say Google it because I don't even use Google. It's just a term now that we all use. And I'm having to retrain myself to say search it or look it up. But, okay, so he was a former director of National Security Agency, obviously NSA, director of National Intelligence, and director of the CIA. I'm looking up the order in which that happened. He has been in a lot of places. So I believe it's telling me that he was in office from May 30, 2006 to February 12, 2009 as the CIA director. And I guess if anybody has a correction to that, just let me know in chat. Yes, he was nominated in 2006 by President George W. Bush to be director of the CIA after Porter J. Goss resigned. So it looks like since he was the director of the NSA from 1999 to 2005, he went from the NSA to the CIA. That's the order in which that happened. Yeah, I love that you guys are having such a great time talking in chat. It's really awesome to see. I'm those chats after the stream's over because, of the good information that is there that can get lost sometimes.
I'm not sure whether I'm happy to be vindicated or disgusted by what we're finding. It's like this fine line between both.
Yeah. It's like really like horrified that this is the truth and that this is what happened, but it's validated and vindicated that we're finding the truth in these documents. That's how I feel most of the time.
I just sent another tweet out about this document and electronic warfare.
Exactly. I know some people are going to be really interested in that finding.
And someone's tweeting me info on John Negroponte. I'll definitely come back to that later. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
I really appreciate you people researching this stuff. Just make sure, don't just send it to me, but tag it to #DecipherU.
Yeah, if you can throw it on Twitter.
So that everybody, all your tweets, I mean, what would be ideal is if we get to the point where we actually trend the hashtag. Because imagine how many people will see this information if we actually successfully trend the hashtag. To trend the hashtag, you literally just have to sit there and spam retweet everything that's on it and also write as many native tweets as possible about it and what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, let's finish the document.
For sure.
I'm stuck on how incredible this happens to me all the time. I get stuck on the first thing that is incredible about it.
Yeah.
It takes me 20 minutes to read the rest.
Because you can write an entire article on one line in the first paragraph, and then you have to kind of get stuck researching and then come back to it.
Right.
And since this is sort of an experiment in journalism live, that's what that's what anybody does in real journalism as you're researching and writing. So
NSA fields the nation's most powerful capabilities for computer network exploitation, which makes me think, who then has the most powerful capabilities for defense? Anyone? Someone? Who can answer that question? Computer network attack uses similar tools and techniques as exploitation. If you can exploit it, you can attack it. Well, clearly, the expertise of Team Meade, which would be Fort Meade, I assume, and the former IRTC can help provide the nation with powerful capabilities for attack as well as exploitation. Snowden was just bang on. These guys just care about breaking shit. That's all they care about.
Yeah, and the fact that he was so correct means he must have, he didn't actually go through all of these, did he? Or did he just collect these in groups?
Who's that?
Snowden. Did he actually get a grip of all of the content of all of these files, or was it more of a certain sections?
Nobody knows in the public realm. I'm pretty sure because I know pretty much everything that's in the public realm about Snowden. That has never been ascertained. There was a famous moment where John, what's his face, the comedian? help me out here.
Oh, yeah. I'm blanking as well. What's his name?
The comedian that came to Moscow and interviewed. It was the famous dick pics interview. Well, that's what it was. It was the dick pics interview where Snowden very cleverly made everybody understand exactly how not cool it is for the NSA to be in their cell phone.
Yeah, like it actually brought the point home. I remember
John Oliver, in the John Oliver interview.
Right.
Let me guess, someone in chat saying John Oliver. No, okay.
Yeah, no, my point wasn't to like try and get any insider information on that. I just was saying that because if he had actually gone through, that would be an amazing feat if he had gone through, gotten a grip on what all of these documents said enough that he could accurately say they were so interested in attack and not on defense. Like those
Well, I think he was saying that from personal experience. I think he was saying that from being inside the agency. He would have seen around him who was tasked with doing what. He would have worked with many of these people and understood what their jobs were and what their roles were. And he would have seen the focus of the agency. But also remember that all of these reports that we're seeing were emailed to staff.
Definitely.
So staff were seeing these reports. Even half of these reports, their primary purpose is to educate staff about what other staff are doing, ironically.
Yeah.
Ironically. If they hadn't put so much effort in trying to teach everyone what everyone else was doing, we wouldn't know half of this stuff. So it's actually, I'd be surprised if a lot of this would still be written today. It's if they... now that they've been forced, I guess, to be a bit more defense-minded, they probably wouldn't. But in response to your question about whether Snowden read the documents, John Oliver inferred that he hadn't.
Interesting.
But there was a really botched, hatched editing job done on that interview. Okay. So I actually wrote an article about the John Oliver interview, and one of the things I noticed when I analysed it is that Snowden's response to that specific question there was really dodgy editing done to try to make him look stupid and try to make him look like he hadn't read it.
Interesting.
So that's actually, it's on Indarken if you want to read it. If you go to indarken.co.nz and type in John Oliver.
Yeah, well, my only point was that obviously that these documents are clearly bearing out what he has said, and that's all the point I was trying to make there. Is that this is just
so no one knows precisely how many documents he took or gave to the Intercept, and nobody knows whether or not he's read them. My educated guess, which I'm sure wouldn't be a surprise to the NSA, would be that Snowden is a developer, so he would have written a script. So he would have written a script for a bunch of keywords, and then he would have taken documents but then again, he took PDFs as well. So that's another factor to consider, is that they came in PDF format, which is part of what made them very difficult for Intercept to vet and to release, because they couldn't search on them. Now there is software that allows you to search on text and images. Whether or not Snowden would have been able to use that in the course of taking those documents, I don't know. So really, we have no idea how he decided which ones to take or any of those particulars, and we may never know that.
Yeah.
Probably not particularly relevant either, because the seriousness of what we are finding in them, just as us as lay people,
absolutely,
discovering this information, justifies pretty much anything that he did, as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely, no, that's not even a question at all. No, we need to know this information. So.
Okay, back to our document. I think we'll probably finish on this one tonight. It's been a pretty exciting, though, episode so far.
Yeah, we've found a lot of really good documents, so good stuff.
Okay, so his mission is to leverage their staff, NSA staff. To accomplish this, he has established a new organization, not just a division and not just a team and not just a project and not just a mission, a new organization. The US Stratcom network attack support staff. Well, holy crap.
Another finding.
That is the first time in all of the documents that we have read that there was a new organization set up. I'm just stopping share momentarily because I'm just adding this to my notes. Right.
We keep finding amazing stuff this evening. It's great.
Yes.
Sometimes we get through.
Incredible.
It's like the day we found that US UN document about Colin Powell and George Bush. You know, we got through like 3 documents that day, but it was such an important finding.
You never know, eh? You never know. Like,
yeah, and sometimes we breeze through 20, 50, and then sometimes we get stuck on 1 or 2, but either way is good.
This is very much quality over quantity, this work. Yeah. Definitely. We need to stick like an asterisk or something alongside our notes to double check the intercept reporting, because I find it virtually impossible to believe that this wasn't in it, and I would check it.
I can check that right now.
I think it needs to be checked, definitely.
Yeah, let me just...
Be careful with the language. If I were you, I'd search on Hayden.
Okay.
I wouldn't try and search on the CNA or the CNE or even the name of the new organization. I'd search on Hayden and see what comes up. Because I feel, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it was somewhere in their reporting, but they may have reworded it.
Yeah.
I'll just keep going through the doc in the meantime.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. And I will look more thoroughly later as well.
Their mission is to plan CNA courses of action, CNA being to disrupt, destroy, deny, degrade, in support of combatant commander requirements. So this would be what Stuxnet came from in later years, I would imagine, because Stuxnet was literally developed to destroy a system from the inside. To develop all source intelligence requirements in support of planning to do that, and to support US. So they basically use existing NSA intelligence to support planning potential destruction missions, data destroying missions, data degrading missions. And to support US Stratcom, which is not just NSA, but all those agencies, in the development of standards to promote readiness of DoD CNA forces and capabilities. This is huge.
Yeah.
Huge. Mr. Mike Shank, who served as director, is the chief of staff of the network attack support staff. Captain someone also is his deputy. You'll be hearing more about NAS in the coming months for further blah, blah, blah. Wow, holy crap. So interesting that it says that their mission is not to execute, but to plan.
Interesting.
To plan and to support in the development of standards. So that's kind of like phase 1.
Yeah.
So this is 2004. So I would call this phase 1 Stuxnet. I would literally call that phase 1 Stuxnet. I'm actually going to stick that phrasing because that is pretty much how I read that. Okay, I'm going to catch up with chat because our awesome chat people are probably saying all kinds of intelligent things that I am not reading yet. Wow, I'm so far behind. Breaking news, Eric is secretly H.A. Goodman. Well, hi, H.A. That would please me greatly, but if not, Eric, happy to have you.
Indeed.
Eric doesn't mention the Clintons enough to be H.A. Oh, funny. Eric doesn't come in and say, my name is Eric. I am a journalist. No, I'm just kidding. Very funny. And hi, Avenue of Intrigue. Sorry I didn't say hi earlier. It's really cool to see you in here too. Very cool.
Cool.
Okay, Graham Elwood is the political vigilante from the Jimmy Dore Show. Wow, very cool.
Oh, wow. Well, great to have you.
I don't think he's in here. I think people are trying to convince him to come in here. Jimmy Dore is following me. I noticed that he followed me some time back, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, same.
I assume maybe because of Katie Johnson.
I'm not sure what. I mean, he followed me too, and I was really honored and humbled by that. But yeah, so
cool. That's excellent.
Hoping he liked material, but.
Back to the sinister Negroponte. John D. Negroponte was the right-hand man of David Rockefeller, who founded the Americas Society and the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, and chaired, and whose father founded the Council of Foreign Relations.
Wow. Talk about well-connected.
So he's basically the henchman.
Sounds like
the Rockefeller henchman.
Yeah, the Rockefellers were into some very, very concerning stuff way back in the day, like in the 30s and 40s, way back.
Redneck, I completely agree with what you're saying about homeless people and politicians.
Yeah, no, I'm really worried about the homeless populations in these southern areas that are freezing, that don't have the facilities to deal with warming people and that type of stuff. So we'll see how it goes, but it's not a good deal.
Looks like Cockatoo was also spewing over finding that the NSA is behind those speeches.
Yeah, no, that was huge.
The Fly says George W. Bush danced with Ellen, so he's awesome now. Protect What's True says millions died for what, and each person was real. That is spot on. And for some sick people, the death of humans is catching profit.
Well, yeah, and if we're gonna,
we have got to end.
If we're gonna go on a bit of some rants this evening, I think what the situation in Iran right now is really, really worrying, and I'm hoping that it's not going to turn into a rinse and repeat of what we've seen so many times with the U.S. interference in other countries that they have no right to interfere with whatsoever. Because I'm really disgusted seeing so many people cheer on interference there. As if it's not going to harm and destroy so many people's lives if that happens so. But that's my personal pet peeve.
On Iran, for me, the mainstream media coverage says it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post saying, go Iranian protesters, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just back up a minute. Like, I was here, I actually saw, and it was accidental, I didn't even mean to, but I saw down Tverskaya the protests that were in Moscow earlier this year.
Yeah.
And there was like sub 200 people. Like we covered a lot of protests, so I can tell you how many people there. It was sub 200 people.
Yeah.
And the entire Western media reported it like Russia is falling tomorrow. Like tens of thousands are in the streets being beaten and gassed. No one was being beaten or gassed. Like, yes, some people got arrested, but it was absolutely just nothing at all. Like, it was, the reporting did not even vaguely reflect like what I saw anyway. And maybe there were protests elsewhere in Moscow, but I mean, I was in the middle of the city and there was a protest, and it was like a non-event basically. By New Zealand standards, it's a non-event. New Zealand has 4 million people. This country has like, 15 times, no, more. I can't even count, 40 times as many people, In New Zealand, we have 25,000 people in a protest, like actually 25,000 people. And do you know what the New York Post, New York Times and the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal say about it? When 25,000 people march in a country of 4 million, they say nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. But when 200 people march in a country of how many million? 100 million? 160 million? Yeah. Oh my God, the world is coming to an end. The regime is falling. Today is the last day of Russia. Like, this is like the way that they cover it. And they're doing the same thing with Iran. And I'm not saying that these people don't have legitimate grievances, because every country and every government and every intelligence agency is up to their neck in corruption.
Yeah,
up
exactly.
to their neck in it. So you can guarantee that there are legitimate grievances, but you can also guarantee that when 200 people are marching in a country of 100 million and it's on the front page of the New York Times, and yet 25,000 people are marching in a country of 4 million, and the New York Times will not even dare to say that it's happening, let alone ever put a photo of it or anything, you can guarantee that there's other interests at play than concern for the democratic protesters. If they were concerned for the democratic protesters, they wouldn't have been beating and gassing them and maiming them and shooting them in the head with beanie babies at Occupy Wall Street. You know, so, I mean, come on now. And where are the human rights? Where are the human rights sanctions? Where are the, like, you know,
or imprisoning Assange or what, you know, all the others, basically, you know, like
massive, epic hypocrisy.
Absolutely. The article I'm writing right now on that is basically titled "The Hypocrisy of Western Humanitarianism in Light of Iran" and whatnot. So I'm hoping I get that done by tomorrow, but we'll see.
Red Economics says she loves our rants. Well, I'm glad that someone does, because I always feel guilty after I have a rant. I'm like, oh, did I mean to do that? I can't help it. It's the same. The thing that makes me have the rants is I would call it righteous indignation. It's the same thing that used to drive me to, like, the protest. Like, I know it was going to destroy my life, and I'd still go and do it, because it was like, how dare you do this to my countrymen? How dare you do this to my city? Like, and now I feel like, how dare you do this to my planet?
Yeah, really. That's a great way to put it.
How dare you do this to human civilization?
It's kind of like the opposite of they came for so-and-so, then they came for so-and-so, and then they came for me. It's like, first I was fighting for my immediate,
everyone else.
You know, first I was fighting for my local group, then I was fighting for my country, and now I'm fighting for everyone. So
that is so spot on. That is completely spot on. First I was fighting for my local group, but then the police infiltrators told everybody that I was the infiltrator. So then I was fighting for them. Yeah, beautiful.
The upward spiral of activism.
Yeah, if you survive, exactly.
Yeah.
Protects What's True says the rants help us digest the facts that have been uncovered. Oh, thank you. See, now I have like a logical explanation for them. I won't feel so guilty. I'll be like, definitely. I'm just helping people to digest the information by having a righteous indignation rant.
Well, I think also, like, especially, I've said this a million times, but when it's a technical situation that you're basing the rant on, that really helps me and probably helps other people to understand what the basis is for the indignation sometimes, you know? So those rants are always especially helpful.
Jenny Lynn's so awesome. She's like, I'm doing the dishes, but I'm here. That's pretty much what I was doing. I was watching Red Economics today. I was watching one of her streams and like doing housework. Awesome.
Yeah, no, podcasts as well are awesome for that as well.
Jenny says we are conspiracy analysts. I like that. That's a really good term. Very well done. Oh, so sweet. Cockatoo says he just loves how we work so well together and we get better all the time.
Thank you. That's so nice. And I think the whole little group worked so well together as well. And yeah, I mean, I feel like every time we stream, we're getting a little bit better at what we're doing, and we're getting like the streamlining of it down a little bit better, and we're building momentum. So
we're so lucky. Like, it never occurred to me, honestly, that we would even have people that would care or that would watch or that would research for this or anything. So we are extremely lucky to have all of you. So thank you. It's really, 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 really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Really cool. And see, this is why I need to work out this real-time chat thing, because people are answering me. Like, when I'm like, John, who? I can see like 4 different people like, John Oliver.
Yeah,
Sorry,
exactly.
I'm late to the party, you guys. Jenny says that interview was epic. It was hilarious. It was really, really funny. And you might be amused too. I should probably look, I'll find it for you really quick, because I think this would interest you guys. This is on my ancient blog, like before I had my other publishing sites.
Yeah.
There's really old school content on this. But I think I managed to pull off a semi-amusing post at the time. Why Snowden's dick pics interview is going viral is the name of the post, and I will just dump the link into the chat for you. Independent Outsider says John Oliver changed over time. He's been bought out. Yeah, I think Eric says he's tired of establishment comedians. I think both of you are right. It's kind of sad when that happens, but it's almost inevitable in some ways, because if he hadn't gotten, I'm always saying this, I'm always reversing the case, but if he hadn't sold out, would he still be on your TV screen? Or would he have had his reputation destroyed and be shamed out of existence somehow? I mean, this is how these guys work, right? Like, you can fly or you get targeted. Is John Oliver going to move to Russia? Is John Oliver going to like take refuge in an embassy? Well, then he probably isn't going to be like a serious radical. Because these days, that's pretty much what happens to you, one way or another.
Yeah, and I feel like you know, I kind of put John Oliver at this point in the same category as I put Rachel Maddow, unfortunately, which is that they used to be, I think they started out being somewhat decent and then kind of devolved as they got caught and hooked into that culture and that, you know, being sort of bought out or whatever.
You know, that just made me think something that I didn't think of when I wrote that article. And that's that maybe John Oliver's heart was in the right place, because it was, generally speaking, a pretty good interview that he did of Snowden, and it really did elevate Snowden's profile at a time that it needed to be. But maybe it was the producers in the editing suite that did the hatchet job on Snowden.
Maybe. I don't know. I would assume that his editors would be just as much bought and sold as anybody else. I don't know. That's a good question.
Editors are more bought and sold. I think that those who have the quality, the say on quality control, so to speak, are generally more corrupt than the faces in front. Look, it's the same thing as we were just saying about the UN. Like, we're saying, you know, we blame the figureheads who get up and give the speeches, but not the people who are tailoring what's in them. And I think that it's the same situation with John Oliver. It's more than likely the senior production staff on his show that are doing the hatchet job on the editing than it was John Oliver personally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was really disappointed with his coverage of the election, and I could go on a rant about that. But basically the way he kind of ridiculed Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders supporters during the primary process, I found really, I had a huge problem with that. So that's my personal rant. But
Jimmy Dore is great. People are just talking about Jimmy Dore. I completely agree with you. I actually really like Jimmy Dore as well. So with Jimmy Dore, it's kind of like he's pointing out things that are so freaking obvious, but he's having to point them out because people are so stupid that they're not getting it, you know. And then you hear him say it and you're like, oh, that's right, of course, like plain as day, you know. Guys, there's just so many comments. I could sit here all night answering them. You guys are amazing. I can't believe how much discussion is in here. It's really incredible. You guys are just blowing my mind. You're so cool. You are so cool, and you're all so good to each other. You're so nice and so positive and
it's very not YouTube.
helpful and kind.
Definitely, it's a great culture that you started going here, and it's just so not what you usually see on YouTube. It's really impressive, I think.
Making all kinds of typos here, but I'm just telling everyone we love you. You're incredible. I'm so proud. Like, there's not one nasty comment from anyone to anyone the whole time. You guys are just, I mean, yeah, we've got about 10 mods, so good luck trying to make one if you do make one, but still, thank you so much for being so good to each other. And just because the stuff we're dealing with is so heavy, you know, in these documents, it's so there's so much negative energy like from it, that to have like such a positive energy chat is just the coolest thing ever. It's really like, it's like a family, like you treating it really, really well.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're gonna go because I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going to bed.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm really looking forward to going to bed. You can't imagine how much I'm looking forward to going to bed. And I'm also looking forward to our next stream.
After that illness, I think anybody would be ready to go to bed. And I'm grateful that you're able to make it, because it's just good to be able to do the streams continuously and get that momentum and keep it going. So
for sure. Yeah, it was a rough 9 days in my house. Like 3 days of one child sick, 3 days of the next child sick, and then 3 days of me sick. So hopefully we're done now.
Yeah, hopefully we can just keep on going through January, or
you know, if you want to. I mean, I don't know if our audience has the stamina. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was going to say, like, if you want to, we can kick it up a notch. We could do it every 2 days. We could do
once a day. Like since you've been sick and everything, I don't think that would be good today to keep going for ages. But yeah, I think that might be, or maybe either keep the schedule and just go for a few more hours or something. We'll figure it out.
Or we just add in a third day and make it a marathon.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Like 5 hours or something, 4 hours, 5 hours. Oh, we'll work it out. But thank you guys so much. Thank you for all your support. It's amazing to see more and more people here every time.
Absolutely.
The one request I have for you guys, the fly here, you should be posting not just my Twitter, but your Twitter. Your YouTube channel. Because Fly has been cutting like 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute short videos about specific documents and specific points. It's much more shareable for social media, I think, than doing a 2.5 hour stream to someone that doesn't have a clue who we are or what we're doing. So please, can you show Fly some love for all the effort that he has been putting in and all the time and hard work by sharing those videos, getting some views on them, and showing people, you know, what we've been doing, because that is ultimately going to be more of a payoff even than telling him, Fly, you're fucking awesome and we love you. But you can do that too, like I just did. But
yeah, no, those smaller clips are amazing because they have the topic, you know, that people can get interested in, and then they are just a few minutes long, or 15, 20 minutes long, kind of maximum. And that is perfect for people to go in, see what we're about, and then go on with their day. And I think the full stream is more useful for the people that join us live and that actually are in the process of learning with us. But for those people that don't get to see us live, I think it's more helpful for them to see the type of clips that Fly has been amazing and put together. That has been so awesome to see him do
and
that.
If you ask Fly, if you have like a little special part of one of our streams that you really, really like, you ask him, he'll probably cut one and put them up for you. Like, for example, if someone's really interested in hearing me say, I'm really looking forward to going to bed, then next thing we know, it will be a freaking meme or something. So, you're gonna have a gift of that.
I'm going to Fly's YouTube channel right now because I want to make sure that I link that into, or Fly, if you're, can you link your YouTube channel for people here and on Twitter so that we can all tweet it with Decipher you and stuff? Because I use that as well. Like when I'm writing, it's really helpful to like get the synopsis of each topic and know what I'm looking at. So
if we're really clever, I feel a bit stupid, because this is like for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, I can't even count now. My specialization, like what I've done for all of these movements is like coordinate social media and pump out and trend hashtags. I mean, I'm fully aware of how to trend a hashtag to number 2 worldwide. And yet I haven't really bothered to do it for this project because I've seen this as something different. I've seen it as a journalism project rather than movement building. But if we're to apply like movement building tactics to this, we would take like core 20, 30, however many Twitter users, we form a Twitter team. So then we can use TweetDeck together as a team. And then every time I send out one tweet, we instantly get 30 retweets on it or more. We could bring every new person on into the team. And then we add in the official Cypher U account. We add in all the other organizational accounts we have access to, et cetera, et cetera. And we start pumping out like massive amounts of circulation for each. And we have scheduled tweets. We can take all of Fly's awesome content and there's a lot of things we can do. So maybe I should start taking this a bit more seriously than just thinking of it as this like side journalism thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. I think it has the potential to get a lot of momentum just from the enthusiasm we've seen so far. I mean, when we had a couple of days off, people were actively coming to ask us what was going on and when was our next stream. So I think it would be good to maybe take it up a notch and see what happens. But because I've really enjoyed this, and I think that the material we've looked at is really genuinely important and it's enjoyable.
It's phenomenally important. It is phenomenally important, and it would, I think, ultimately having other people study the documents has to be the end goal. Because while it's like all well and good for us to have people who like us, and whatnot, like I mean, we'll go on to other projects and do other things in the years to come, and those people can follow us if they really want to. It's totally cool. Yes, Redneck, this has very much just been a side project for me. My main journalism is pretty much intertwined with the subject matter though. So if you go and read all my long form pieces to date, you will be reading about the same type of stuff that this is about.
Yeah, this is like a new form of performing the same type of journalism. It's a new, not platform, but a new, like you said, it's a first journalism initiative in this type of, not just crowdsourcing, but looking at these unrecognized documents that have never really been looked at before.
Fly, I totally agree with you. And that was what I said like in one of the episodes pretty early on, is that I do very much feel that if a man's going to give his life for this material, that it needs to get more respect and more attention than a few headlines in the Washington Post or, I mean, it's all well and good. Like, I'm glad that he's getting awards and I'm glad that it is like being applauded, but at the same time, we should still be reading the documents.
Exactly.
It's like, in some ways, I kind of feel like that's a little bit like how they co-opt you, because they spend so much time applauding you and saying what a great thing you did, that you're actually not, we're just going, oh, he did a great thing, but not actually reading and studying and learning like what a great thing. Because I have more respect, and this is after having written about Ed for years. Like, there is years worth of articles of me writing about Ed. I have more respect for what he's done and the gift that he's given the world from reading these documents myself than I ever will have from him getting awards or people saying how great he is. So at the end of the day, the source material is everything. And that's exactly what we're doing here, is turning the attention back onto the source material.
Definitely.
This was the gift to humanity, was the documents. This was the gift to humanity. And full respect to the Intercept, because for all the shit that they get given about being a peer or media outlet and a blah, 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 they've released these source documents, these batches of documents. So if they really were just a like stooge CIA opera or whatever, these documents wouldn't have seen the light of day. They would have been like buried, and that was it. So the fact that they're actually vetting and releasing these docs and is what is allowing us to do this. We wouldn't be able to do this series if Intercept wasn't doing that. So that is yet another indication that Glenn's heart was in the right place and always has been. And others that he works with, but particularly Glenn, because he's freaking awesome. Okay, that's it. I'll stop talking now. I'm going to bed.
Not at all. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
We will see you in 3 days' time. No doubt I'll be tweeting a day early going, yeah, it's tonight. Never listen to me about when the stream is.
Yeah.
Always
no, it's really
listen to Elizabeth.
Well, it's just genuinely an easier time for me to remember because it's just like 7 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday.
Your time matches the paraphernalia, exactly. the marketing materials.
Yeah. If I was in some obscure like island or location, then I'm sure it would be 3 a.m. for me. So it is what it is. But thank you to everybody who joins us, because we really do appreciate all of your participation and the help that you give us, and just the fact that, you know, that's the point of what we're doing, is to have other people look at these documents with us. So
it's been amazing. Thank you all. I'm just seeing everyone's wishing us good night and saying lovely things to us. Thank you all for making this such an awesome experience. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, every single one of you is fantastic.
Yes, definitely. Happy New Year. That was an amazing start to 2018.
Yeah, that Assange tweet was amazing.
Okay, good night, you guys. Good night, Jenny Lynn, Independent Outsider, Protect What's True, Jake Smith, Kathy B, Eric, East Slider, Cacti Juice, so many people I cannot even count. Thank you all.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
You're amazing. Shelley, good night, Shelley. Sorry for everyone I'm missing. Cockatoo, God, there's heaps of you. Fly, thank you so much. Redneck, thank you so much. I could go on and on. Amazing contribution, everyone. Good night. See you Friday.
Bye. See you then.